Hello, welcome gamers and hobbyists. Welcome to episode 2 of Between the Battles. Now, as you know, this is a series where I take a topic and do a bit of a deep dive. I don't have any drink or beverage with me today, but I've been using these actually. Remember these? Like chewy mints. Lovely. Actually, I was just watching a movie, thinking about mints. I bought some today, and I thought, they really help me. They used to help me concentrate. So I thought, I wonder if it will help me with this video. But then I thought, I can't be sat chewing mints whilst I'm talking to you guys, can I? But that's okay. That's okay. Welcome once again back into my studio here. As you can see, you that know me, this is where we chat, we chill out, and for this series, like I say, we take a topic and dive into it. Now, the topic that I want to talk about today is the appeal of playing both sides. Now, what is the appeal of playing both? Obviously, as a solo gamer, as a solo war gamer, solo RPGer, even a solo board gamer, I have a lot to think about when it comes to playing both sides of a war game. When I first started playing solo in war games, it was, I suppose, I was a kid, doing like a very rudimentary style of toy soldiers, as it were. I had a toy fortress as a kid, all made of wood, and that it was handmade by my grandfather, I think, but it's a long time ago now. But I used to use it for all sorts of things, Knights of the Round Table, Cowboys and Indians, World War II, all that kind of good stuff. Anyway, I'd line up soldiers, and that was it. I was playing both sides, you see, which is what you do as a kid. What I did as a kid. Obviously, a friend of mine and I would get together at times, and he had a much bigger soldier collection than I did at that time. And so we used to go around his, and we used to play like our own version of a war game together, as it were. Whether we used marbles or just line of sight, right? Well, I'm attacking you now, and then you attack me, and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, that's not important. What is important is why it appeals to me now. Well, I suppose playing both sides of a war game, for me, it deepens the game. It really deepens the game in many ways. It gets, whether I'm playing, it doesn't matter what game I'm playing. I could be playing a fantasy war game like Warhammer or Middle Earth, which incidentally, Middle Earth war game by Games Workshop is perfect for solo and narrative play. I'll just say that. You don't need to do anything. It's just perfect. You can just play it solo. It's so simple. Anyway, come back to that. So, right. So why does it deepen the game? I suppose because it enables me to understand the strengths and weaknesses of both sides. Because in a war game, when you have armies, whether it's historical or fantasy, usually they have a kind of a weakness and a strength, or strengths and weaknesses, and it enables me to explore both avenues of this. So, understanding the strengths and weaknesses of both sides, that enables me instantly, as I'm playing, to get a greater grasp of the game, a greater grasp of the feel of the game, the ethos of the game. We're already deepening the game. Okay. It also comes with, it creates a less win at all costs atmosphere about your game, because you're playing against yourself, right? So you haven't got some opponent stood across from you, across the other side of the table, and you're thinking, I've got to crush this person. I'm going to crush their army with my army because my army is, I played a better meta game than them. I created my army better than they created theirs. And, I'm going to win. Now, before you jump in and say things like, well, with Warhammer, you can play the same army, both sides. Yes, you can. Make up whatever story you want as to why you're fighting each other. But that's okay. But it creates a less win at all costs thinking. And this increases the depths of the game for me. It just does. So already right there, that's a pretty good what's the word? Segue into understanding the greater depths of a game. I'm going to have one of these mints now, so I'll try not to chomp in front of you. So, yeah, it gives you a greater understanding of the game. I'm talking about wargaming here, but that has happened actually in a role-playing game for me. True, it didn't happen when I was solo playing. Let me explain. When I first started role-playing back in the 80s, I played Dungeons and Dragons, first or second edition, whatever it was. I can't remember now. Don't know what it was when I started. It might have been first. Anyway, I was in a game. I wasn't running it, but because it was far more streamlined than the likes of today's sort of game. All this kind of stuff. Don't worry. Oops, look at that. I've jiggled the camera. Don't worry about that. Come on to that in another video. But came a point where obviously I was playing my character, got involved in a campaign. And so house rules were created where I was in charge of an army. Now the game turned from a role-playing game into a skirmish war game. All right, we didn't have all the separate miniatures. We drew them out on paper. But the point is, we were playing a war game on that. But it can be done for role-playing as well. Both sides. If you're solo role-playing, there's no reason why you can't do that for both sides if you are solo gaming. So I was facing, can't remember what it was now, evil chaos army, whatever it was, demons, whatever. But thinking about it now, I could play that. I could solo role play. I could get up to a certain point where it becomes solo war game. Now I'm playing both sides of that. Why not? And it makes, like I said just now, deepens the game, which can make it longer. Yes, we're not trying to win at all costs. But that doesn't matter, right? Because playing solo, who cares? Who cares how long the game takes? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. So, yeah, that is a really, really good element for me. Now, let's talk about narrative versus creative mindset. Now, you can do both in solo. Now, I used to play a game called War Machine. Well, correction. At the time, I used to play a game called Hordes. Now, War Machine and Hordes is a bit like Warhammer 40,000 and Warhammer Fantasy. Hordes is like the fantasy version. I was playing with Hordes at the time, but I've done it with War Machine as well. Now, competitive play, I've set games up of that against myself to try to best what army I think my opponent is going to bring. Now, at the time, I used to belong to a War Games club, and my opponent for Warmer Hordes, as it was called when you were playing with, I knew he had about 3 armies. I knew what they were. So I used to try and make my army, I used to kind of put them through their paces against myself, my own mindset, my own brain, as if I was playing myself, win at all costs to beat my opponent. But when you're playing for fun, you can do it narratively. And as I say, you can take as long or as short as you like when you do that. You can set up your game, you can start playing, you can come back to it, you can agonize for hours over every move. Doesn't matter. That's the beauty of why I love solo wargaming and playing both sides. Okay. So creating stories on the tabletop, covered that with the whole role-playing wargame crossover. So you can create stories for why you do it. I suppose narrative offers more memorable moments over optimal plays. Like I say, that depends on why you're doing it, doesn't it? It all depends on why you're doing it. Okay, so what else have we got here? So, again, narrative versus competitive play. If you're playing it yourself, you can use scenarios, which come with a lot of game, or match play, which sometimes is like a sort of scenario setup, but it's like a pre-set up scenario. You get a lot of that in Warhammer, even in a certain like World War II games, that kind of thing, where you gotta perform a mission, capture an objective, that kind of thing. Can all be done narratively. It can be done competitively, and it doesn't matter which type of play you're going for when you're playing both sides. Like I say, I find competitive play for both sides a good way of trying to practice building an army in case I needed to play one-on-one again, or however many people are playing. I've been in a war game before where there's been about 6 against 6, massive war game. Probably not as big as like the Apocalypse games of Warhammer, but we're getting the kind of general drift. This was actually a American Civil War game, but yes, I'm starting to drift off course now. Right, what else can we dive into here? So scenarios. When I'm playing scenarios for both sides, it feels more cinematic to me, and that's important. It's hard to play cinematic games on your own. It's harder to play than like campaign-versed ones, I find, generally. For me, I'm sure that's not the same for everybody, but trying to get that cinematic feeling is slightly different. But I do find scenario play more cinematic, and how they help a solo gamer such as myself with playing both sides is what I like to call the analysis paralysis, where you are kind of, you get locked into a kind of, oh, what if I play it this way? What if I play it that way? And you end up stalling because you don't want to make a wrong move. Whereas if when you are solo, it doesn't matter. You can go one way, you can go, all right, okay, that didn't work. Let's reset the game. Let's reset the table. Try a different option. What would have happened if I did that? There's no rules to break here. You're on your own, man. There's no referee. You're not in a tournament. There's no one to call you out on it. It's not cheating. Are you enjoying yourself by thinking, right, okay, what if I reset it? Do you remember the Fighting Fantasy role-playing books? Did you ever keep your finger on a page when it said turn to page 467 or reference 467 to see if you made a good choice or not? And if it turned out you didn't, you go back to where you kept the page. Don't tell me you never did that if you played those books. I don't believe you. This is the same thing. Playing both sides, you can do that. Say you're playing, a game of bolt action, Germans versus Americans. You happen to think, oh, I'm playing the Germans now on this turn because you've chosen the German dice. We'll play that way, okay? But if it doesn't work out for you, if you choose, the Americans on the next go, for example, put it back, set it up again. Go, right, okay, if I had done something different on that go, how would it have played out if I chose Americans next time around? And that doesn't sound like fun for a lot of people, but sometimes it can be fun. It's just whiling away the time. That is what the hobby is all about. All about how you choose to interact with your games. It's your games. That's the thing. And you are the only one that matters when you're solo playing both sides. You are the only one that matters. Are you having fun? If you find yourself thinking, do you know what, this is too, I can't be bothered, I'm not enjoying this, don't do it that way. Try a different way. It's entirely up to you. Right. Okay. Another reason I like playing both sides. Mentioned it briefly just now. It's the what if. It's the, what if battles. So I could set up a game of Helm's Deep, the attack on Helm's Deep, for example, from the Middle Earth, Lord of the Rings game. And I can say to myself, what happened if the Uruk-hai reached Helm's Deep before the elves arrived, to back him up? They probably would have lost, right? That's not a given. It's not a given. What if the elves turned up during the battle, but they were outside of the fortress? Who knows? There's only one way to find out, and that's to play the game. If you want to do it that way, and you've got those memories, if you record them, I haven't got this down on my notes, but as with any solo endeavor, particularly role playing, if you log somehow your game, you can look back at it and enjoy those moments again. Memory. I like the video games, particularly war games if I'm doing that, and especially role playing games if I'm doing that. Role games, a lot of the time, role playing games, I do a lot more on my own as well, without no record apart from keeping a little log. But I do like to video it sometimes. So I don't use them. I don't use these videos in my in my social medias hardly at all. I have done, but maybe in the future we'll do some more. Hey, if you don't know, I happen to have a D&D campaign coming up soon. Well, I say soon. It didn't happen last year because of one thing and another, illness and whatever else. Doing a solo campaign. I'm going to film that. I'm going to film a solo role-playing campaign at some point. And I want to be filming a few skirmish war games. They're going to be skirmish games because of the table size required and so on. I have the room here in my studio. I could set up bigger tables, but it's just easier to set up a smaller table and film it and have fun because it doesn't take so long to set up and that kind of thing. So there you go. So what I like about these what if battles is alternative outcomes to famous battles, or whether they're real or fantasy, whatever, it doesn't matter. I could recreate the attack, on Terra from the like the evil Primarchs and Space Marines and that. Say they won, what would have happened then? You can make your own stories. It's great. It's fantastic. So why is that fun? I don't know. I find it fun anyway. I find it fun. I find it incredibly fun for me to come up with an alternative ending. How it ended? Did it end? Was it a complete slaughter fest, or was it a very, very close call? Yeah, it's just I just like to wonder these things. What would have happened? Battle of the Bulge. What would have happened if such and such and such and such? There's all these different outcomes you could have. Yeah, there's just loads of it. I can't even begin to describe what alternative battles you. I'm sure you could come up with a load of yourself. So yeah. So now comes the part where I asked you a question. Do you remember last time I asked you a question? This is just for funsies. Do you prefer narrative games or competitive ones, and why? That doesn't mean it's a set in stone what you prefer. Um, at the moment, say that was what I asked you. So I mean, at the moment, I prefer narrative games. That's what I prefer. But the question I'm going to ask you guys for next time, or for this time, is what does the hobby give you outside of gaming or painting? What does it give you? Now, it gives me an awful lot, but I'm going to talk about that next time on the next episode of Between the Battles. Thanks ever so much for joining me on this video. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. It really does. I'm hoping we'll see more of each other. We can have more chats. I've got more chats, more chills to come this way. Maybe some tutorials at some point. Who knows? Who knows? And remember, all brushes lead to war, because that's my mantra. I do love a bit of painting. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on another video. Bye for now. Bye bye.